everybody, to another episode of Wisconsin Weather Experts on this Thursday.
Yeah, which is an interesting date in weather history. It certainly coincides with a lot of major meteorological events. We're going to start relatively locally. It's been 35 years since the devastating F5 tornado hit suburban Plainfield, Illinois, and left a wide path of destruction, including Plainfield High School. Now, it happened between 3:15 and 3:45 p.m. It cut a 16.4-mile path up to a half-mile wide. Think of the size of that. Destroyed 470 homes, damaged 1,000 more, cost $160 million in damage. Now, it was the first tornado stronger than an F3 recorded in Illinois during August, and only the second deadly August tornado since records were kept in 1950. Now, low clouds and rain wrapped that twister, making it very hard to see, and that's why there are, to this date, no known photos or video of the actual tornado itself, only the aftermath like you're seeing. And unlike most, it approached from the northwest, which is a little bit of a different path. 29 people were killed, 350 were injured, led to an upgrade, though, in the tornado warning system because of what was going on. Of course, FOX6, which was then known as TV6, was on the scene to record the damage and the cleanup. Take a look at this from our archive files.
Volunteers and rescue workers remove what's left of this three-story apartment. 9 people died here when the tornado hit. Many were found in a cornfield 100 yards away from the apartment. Survivors cannot believe the destruction.
It was just a big noise, and you could hear glass all over the place, and then just dead silence.
Dozens of dump trucks from surrounding communities line up to haul the rubble away. Crest Hill's mayor has been up all night helping his community cope.
We'll make it. Everybody's strong-willed. Got that sense, we'll do it. Community will bounce back better, bigger and better.
Residents in Plainfield are also looking for ways to make it through this tragedy. The tornadoes leveled dozens of homes and the city's high school. 3 people, including a nun, were killed at St. Mary's Church. The pastor knows he will have to help his community heal. But right now, he hasn't found the right words.
I don't. I wish I knew what to say right now. I'm thinking about it. Laid awake all last night wondering.
And that was the voice of then TV6 reporter Charles Benson. Some stunning video there, obviously, and an impressively out of the ordinary historic tornado because we said at the top, you know, very different approach, very significantly stronger than a typical August tornado for that part of the country. So it's just kind of an interesting date in weather history, but it's not the only date in weather history. We're going to talk a little bit about Katrina's 20-year as well, coming up in just a little bit.
And I know that storm very well. Technically wasn't born just yet, but it means I'm turning 35 this year. It actually impacted the city that my parents lived in. My mom is still in Joliet. It was Plainfield, Crest Hill, and Joliet. I know the area very, very well. There was a Catholic school, is a Catholic school there right now that was impacted at the time. Of course, the high school. So it was, I mean, it's still top of mind for a lot of people who live in that area because of how really historic it was.
Right, and that's the impact these major weather events have, not only on the actual structures, as you're seeing again here in the video, but also on people's lives, people's memories, and it can really alter their futures as well, the choices they make, you know, maybe somehow you picked up on all of that and became a meteorologist because
that is what my mother tells me.
And there you go. So there you go. It can change entire lives, even of those who were not quite on the planet just yet at the time. All right, let's bring it back to the present and talk about something going on right here at home.
Yeah, we're still talking about all of the historic flooding we had here over the last month. Federal help for Wisconsin flood victims is now in the hands of the president, so still kind of waiting. But Governor Evers is requesting President Trump declare a major disaster. Evers says the joint FEMA state survey confirmed at least $33 million in damage to homes. That's just a sampling in Washington, Waukesha, and Milwaukee counties. You know that there were probably plenty more. The governor is asking the president to give FEMA money to victims in those 3 counties. And although rivers are receding, it's giving us a closer look at the damage left behind after some of these historic floods. Along the Milwaukee River, debris is piling up with nowhere to go. Then in the Menominee River, there's more junk along the bank.
Yeah, wow,
Gosh,
look at
that's
that.
so hard to look at, right? Now, Cheryl, it was one of the Milwaukee River keepers. She says they've started to look at damage in the Menominee, Kinnickinnick, and Milwaukee River.
Seeing all this trash is really, it's sad. And also, you know, there's some really significant stream bank erosion because the water levels rose so quickly. In some cases, I think there's going to be a lot more trash than is normal.
So thankful for this organization.
Yeah.
They do such great work. But the Milwaukee River Keepers planning specialized cleanups for the fall. For information on those dates, if you'd like to help out too, you can just head to the Fox Local app. Great way to help your community out, keeping these rivers clean.
Give back, and such an important resource for our area as well. Let's go out to New Hampshire. They had some interesting hail there. Hail actually is pounded
Look at
parts
that.
of southern New Hampshire. Oh, that poor glass tabletop.
I know.
It's hanging in there. I guess they're not quite big enough to take that out. But storm swept through the region just the other day. A video showing that ice, of course, pelting down, with the National Weather Service warning of half-inch hail in the area. They had strong wind and more showers. They expect to see that kind of off and on through Friday. In fact, a pretty active part of the country. And then off to Utah, as we take a look at some storms crossing Utah, and they've led to some flooding in Salt Lake City. Yeah, there you can see it right there. The floodwaters for sure. Images posted to social media showing some people wading through the high water in the city of Far West this morning. Some people in the city are reporting water getting inside homes. Storms in the area were kind of off and on most of the day, but obviously when they were on, they were very on.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about that yesterday too. Out west, just being very unsettled, and especially some of the areas that had burn scars that could potentially deal with some of the flooding.
Because it doesn't help absorb. They don't have that root structure, the plant structure to take that in. And of course, this comes after parts of the Pacific Northwest was getting scorched. So the western portion of our country has been dealing with its own problems as we've been dealing with the flooding here and now. Enjoying this lovely taste of autumn weather, even though it's not quite autumn just yet. But looking ahead, we do have some good news for the long weekend. Let's go kick off our regional hour.
Yes, let's do that. And speaking of some of the flooding, thankfully areas out west are going to dry out today. That flood risk when it comes to the U.S. has actually drifted towards the south. There are a handful of communities across Oklahoma as well as Arkansas that are dealing with some of those flood headlines, including that area across Arkansas in red. That's actually active flash flood warnings. And you can see why a pretty large swath of the South dealing with some of this heavy rain, and it's been ongoing since overnight, since yesterday evening. So parts of eastern Oklahoma, Arkansas, then crossing over the Mississippi into Mississippi State, dealing with a lot of that heavy rain. Now, thankfully, there's no severe weather associated with it. It's really just the heavy rain and flash flooding threat that continues down towards the south. Also unsettled east of us, we saw just a little bit of rain in some of mainly our inland and southern communities overnight last night and into early this morning. It was done by the time most of us woke up, and Milwaukee did not actually see any of that rain. Now it's over to the east across Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, and then up towards the east coast and especially into parts of Canada. Out towards the west, still some light rain, more so spotty across Montana and over to the Pacific Northwest, but thankfully nothing major in those areas. Now let's bring you back closer to home. Cold front moving through as we speak. It's crossing into some of our southern communities. We do have a little bit of cloud cover here, Milwaukee up to about Green Bay. That will eventually move southward and then move out eventually. So some good news there. Sunshine will eventually return to southeast Wisconsin. The rest of the state doing really well. You'll notice there's a bit more cloud cover across Minnesota and northwestern Wisconsin, but that's about it. We will continue to see very quiet conditions heading into our Labor Day weekend. Sunday and Labor Day itself look to warm up a little bit if you're trying to take advantage of, days in the water before school starts on Tuesday. High pressure will eventually sink its way southward here, but so will some of this cooler air. So I do think we'll see some sunshine for Friday, but plan on a cooler day. Then temperatures will gradually warm up as we get to the second half of the weekend. Temperatures even right now for a good chunk of the state, quite a bit cooler than this time yesterday. In fact, Green Bay, that is, about 10 degrees cooler. So those of us along Lake Michigan, now that we have this lake breeze, now that the cold front has moved through, will be cooler today. 60s for high temperatures. Same with northern communities. Out towards the west, though, should still be very pleasant. That's where more of the 70s will be located today, and then potentially even near 80 across Minnesota and parts of Iowa. Look at temperatures tomorrow. Look at some of these northern communities across northern parts of our state. We could see 30s and low 40s for low temperatures in northern Wisconsin tonight. In fact, there's a frost advisory for far northern Wisconsin and parts of the UP. Now down towards the south a little bit more, places like Madison, Milwaukee will drop into the 50s. That is still way below average for morning low temperatures. And then Friday's going to stay pretty cool, I think, across much of the state. 60s for high temperatures, maybe some 70s far off towards the west, but just plan on more of a cooler end to the work week and start to the weekend. Out towards the west, different story. There are a lot of spots today that will reach into the 80s. We will gradually warm up eventually, but for now, Friday and the rest of today too will stay on the cooler side. You'll notice even as we get to Saturday, low 70s will be in the forecast, still a bit below average, but then we climb right in time for the holiday on Monday into the upper 70s. But past that, we actually look to drop again. In fact, the Climate Prediction Center's temperature outlook heading into September past Labor Day is back below average. So it does look like we will eventually drop again after at least a couple of days in the 70s. Now, I know a lot of people are excited for this fall-like air to be here, especially with school starting. We want those schools to be comfy.
Yeah.
I'm sure mid-September. You know what? It's without fail. Mid-September, early October, we'll have a little bit of warmth back in the area, but for now, cooler weather is going to be the name of the game.
Yeah, that's right. And as you said, I think it's good for the kids getting back to school. Keep them focused, get them in the right mood.
It makes me happy. I hope all the windows are open.
Back to school always made me happy,
those poor
too.
kids.
Get out of my house. For sure. All right, let's continue our look at some other major weather events that have been happening. I'm going to take you over to Vietnam. Deadly floods there killed at least 5 people and left dozens injured after days of heavy rain triggered widespread damage there. Authorities say 3 people are still missing, while nearly 32,000 homes, hundreds of schools and medical facilities were destroyed or damaged. Most in that area. Of course, we're seeing motorcycles wading through flooded streets, and the storms continue to batter that region.
Wow, it's a lot of water, just more flooding that we continue to see. Now, all this week, we've been looking back on Katrina. 20 years ago, Hurricane Katrina, as we know, devastated the Gulf Coast, with Mississippi taking a direct hit. And now communities there are reflecting on what's changed and what hasn't. Fox's Sarah Allegre was in Gulfport, Mississippi with this report.
Everybody had a loss.
What a difference 20 years can make. Blue skies, palm trees, and a new look. This is Gulfport, Mississippi today. But take it back 2 decades. This exact spot, unrecognizable. Leonard Papania, former police chief of Gulfport, knows these streets. He was a young lieutenant when Katrina tore through, and now our guide through the before and after.
The area I grew up in, I've lived here all my life. You didn't even know where you were.
And for him, it wasn't just his city that was devastated. The husband and father of 4 lost his own home too.
In moments like these, you don't build character, you demonstrate it.
Rupert Lacey was also on the front lines. He helped coordinate law enforcement and emergency management during the storm.
I didn't realize it was going to be on steroids.
But Katrina wasn't the first major hurricane he saw. Lacey was just a kid in 1969, but he and other longtime residents still remember Hurricane Camille. Its monster surge flattened entire communities.
You've got to understand the force of water. Buildings that survived Camille did not survive Katrina.
Today, emergency leaders point to better training and coordination. But with even stronger storms hitting, the question remains, are they ready for the next one?
We do plan for the potential failures of our systems. We've got paper backups. We've got alternate means of communicating.
Through it all, Papania is still here, walking these streets, remembering the past and hoping he never sees a repeat of 2005.
I always say I wouldn't trade the experience I had in Katrina, but I absolutely don't want to do it again.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point because a lot was learned,
Yes,
both in emergency
absolutely.
response, meteorological sciences, and everything. But yeah, definitely with him, I don't want to do that again.
Agreed.
I do want to do some more forecasting for you and some more weather show here on the Wisconsin Weather Experts. So stick around, we'll do that again. In about 2 minutes, we'll join Chief Meteorologist Tom Walks.
Welcome back, everybody, to Wisconsin Weather Experts. Well, it's hard to believe that we are nearing the end of August. We've been watching our rainfall totals so closely, especially weeks ago when we dealt with all of that historic flooding.
And just growing and growing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the historic flooding. And of course, at this point, even if we dry out, we'll have one of the wettest Augusts we've ever had. And of course, on top of all that, through the month of August, the Wisconsin Weather Experts have been pretty busy. One of them, of course, our very own Chief Meteorologist, Tom Walks, who joins us live this morning. Your backyard looks dry enough.
You're right, and we have finally dried out, you guys, and the sun is coming out too. Not a bad day today, but you guys talked about the rain, right?
Yeah.
In August, and it's really wild. Let's take a look at our August calendar here for rain in Milwaukee, because guess what? We only had 7 days of measurable rain in the month. But of course, we had all the flooding on the 9th and 10th, right? So in total, we're at under 9 inches of rain in Milwaukee. Of course, some areas saw much higher than that. This is over double our monthly average. 3.65 is roughly our average for the month of August, which is incredible that we have had obviously so much rain, most of that falling on the 9th and the 10th. But again, I think what makes this calendar even more wild to look at is we only have 7 days with measurable rain in the month. And again, that totaled under 9 inches. So now it's Thursday, right? So we get a drought update. So let's take a look and see the latest U.S. drought monitor for the area and for the region. We're looking good. There's just a blip in Kenosha County, so that's not a big deal. That's been there for a couple of weeks. It is a little bit drier in parts of Kenosha County than, say, Milwaukee County. Statewide, there's, again, another little blip of some drier weather up in the Northwoods of Wisconsin. Again, that's also not a real big deal. But when we zoom this out even more, to especially the national view. Let's go right to the national view, because look out to the west.
Oh, wow.
When you look from Idaho stretching down into Wyoming and then down into the desert Southwest, it really gets bad drought-wise. And even, down to look at Miami, Florida, and parts of New England, they are also experiencing some drought over there. So clearly no drought issues, right, around here after all the rain that we've had. Now, the good news is for us is we have dried out in the sense that if we do get any heavy rain, which, Steph, as you mentioned, there's nothing in the forecast, but we can handle it now, right? The river levels have fallen. We're starting to see that rain soak in now from a couple of weeks ago, that we can start to handle more rain. So that's at least good news. Not that there's any in the forecast, but at least we've had days and days and days and weeks really now to dry out. And that's critical for us, because remember how really scary it was in the days just after the flooding when we had more rain, right? And that was really concerning for exacerbating the flood in the river, flood threat and all that. So that has all subsided. So that is certainly good news. But guys, it's a beautiful day out here and no rain in sight.
Which is a very good thing. And as you point out, Tom, our area can take more rain, and we're certainly not seeing significant drought here. But that drought in the West, you're naming some pretty big agricultural communities, right? A big swath there. We're going to produce a lot of food that we eat. And even, you think about it as crops directly when you think about rain, but even livestock are impacted by drought, because now you don't have the grazing for the cattle, which is not exactly free, but basically free food for the farmers and the ranchers. If they have to start feeding those cattle from their silos, from their corn crops and things like that, the price that you and I pay for our weekend burgers is going to go up.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, and that's a really good point, Rob, is that, and it's not only local, right, that we look at, we are affected, as we talked about the drought out west, right? We're affected by that.
Right.
And, I think that that's something that we've always got to keep all of that in mind. If you're seeing that in Kansas, right, for example, or farther west, then we're also dealing, Colorado and the water rights out there with the rivers.
Right.
And I mean, it has been a fight, right, in the past. So drought really impacts a lot. And I think we're fortunate on one hand that we don't have to deal with that here. And I also think we're fortunate that, we live by a big lake as well, which can help in times of drought.
Yeah,
very good
that's
point.
Very true.
Very good point. All right, thanks, Tom. Your lawn is looking lovely. The stripes are well done. You get bonus lawn marks.
It's very green for sure.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I don't know if Tom's kiddo is old enough to do the lawn just yet, but I'm happy to have my adult son home to take. I haven't cut the lawn all summer. It's been wonderful.
Wow. Okay, there you go.
And he actually cut it without me asking the other day. He really is growing up.
Wow.
I hope
amazing.
so. He's going to be a doctor in like a year and a half.
I was going to say. All right. Well, we have more Wisconsin weather experts coming up. Let's take a live look outside right now. Milwaukee, a little bit of cloud cover. We will see you on the other side of the break.
All right, welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts, and we've been talking about this, you know, the change up and this taste of fall, and everybody talking about, you know, pumpkin spice lattes and everything.
Had one yesterday.
This weather might actually help your health, sort of indirectly. So it turns out cloves, of course, they're known for the pumpkin spice latte and that warm, spicy flavor, like pumpkin spice and the canned pumpkin, of course. So there's new research that says the cloves can also help fight pain and inflammation. I guess cloves contain, and I may not say this right, but euhonol. It's a compound known for its anesthetic and anti-inflammatory effects. Scientists say it blocks certain chemical and nerve responses that cause pain. It also inhibits the production of substances that trigger inflammation and contribute to pain and swelling, which is similar to ibuprofen, for example. Now, evidence of such relief is limited in humans, but an animal study did find that this did improve limb function in rats with osteoarthritis. But ingesting too many cloves, having too many PSLs or pumpkin pies or whatever the case may be, can be toxic, and it can cause allergic reactions. So don't just go home and open up the spice cabinet. But yeah, it's fascinating, right?
And now I do know people who will put a little bit of pumpkin like in their dog's food.
Sure, that's supposed to be healthy for them.
Yeah.
I don't know if the cloves are mixed in with that, if it's just raw pumpkin, but you might want to try having an extra PSL. I mean, it's a good excuse to try one at the very least.
Well, and it's just so common during the fall,
right.
too. So.
Chances are the amount of sugar in there has a negative health effect.
Yes.
But let's just lean on the cloves for now. Thanks for leaning on us for all of your weather needs. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to reach out. The QR code is up on your screen right now, and you can check us out there. Of course, we're always available on Fox Local and on the Fox 6 YouTube channel. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you at the very same time in the very same place tomorrow.
Have a good one.